Greene Street Joinery and the American Craftsman podcast are proud to partner with Montana Brand Tools. Montana Brand Tools are manufactured by Rocky Mountain Twist in Montana, USA. With numerous patents dating back to the invention of the hex shank system by our founders, we strive to produce accessories that add precision, flexibility, and efficiency to your toolkit. In addition to woodworking tools, we produce many high-quality cutting tools that are used by the aerospace, medical, automotive, and industrial markets. Our end product has a fit and finish that is beyond comparison. Montana Brand Tools are guaranteed for life to be free of defects in material and workmanship because we build these tools with pride and determination. For 10% off your order, visit montanabrandtools.com and use the coupon code American Craftsman.
All right, here we go. Episode, what is this?
I think it's 12 because we're one ahead of the nomenclature on the notes.
I see. Different scenery today.
Yeah, back in the shop.
Yeah, we won't waste your time explaining the reasoning why, but here we are.
Our comfy confines.
Yeah. So what are we covering today?
We're talking about the Pennsylvania Dutch and Amish furniture makers of note. The third installment of our series on the styles usually delves into some of the famous makers.
Yep.
And with this one in particular, I ran into a little bit of a hiccup because of the Amish and, and the Mennonites and basically their beliefs. I can sort of paraphrase some of my notes here, let you guys know what I'm talking about. The Amish, the Pennsylvania Dutch, if you will, they believe that community harmony is threatened by secular values such as individualism and pride, which is part of the modern world. I mean, that's kind of what they're trying to separate themselves from. Even when we go back into the 1700s, it's still modern to them. So they curb their interaction and insulate themselves, and they prohibit things like individualism, greed, and I mean, it all sounds pretty idealistic, and in light of today's society, doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, I say individualism maybe at a downturn at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it maybe have been on a downturn for a while, with all the uniform wearing and signaling and all that stuff, sure. But so that's why they dress plainly and they don't like to have their photograph taken. They don't even like to study the Bible individually. And, the Bible's a big part of their belief system. They don't want into individual interpretations. They keep their buggies basically, black, gray. They don't want to stand out. And one of the hallmarks of their belief system is humility.
I can get down with that.
So you could imagine that, signing your pieces and, trying to sort of aggrandize yourself individually, that's kind of frowned upon.
Right.
They see conformity and all that stuff. That's really their highest goals. So now you take all this into consideration and the fact that most of this stuff was utilitarian in nature, not really discovered, so to speak, until folk art becomes a thing in the 1920s. It's kind of hard to come up with examples of guys that were, notable furniture makers.
Yeah, because to be Amish and to be a furniture maker who, identifies their furniture with themselves is, in turn, against the Amish belief system.
Cutting against the grain, as we like to say. They were encouraged to surrender their personal aspirations for the sake of community purity. That's right out of my notes. So many of their pieces were not signed or easily attributed to a specific maker. And that's kind of what we did when we were, digging back further in time before people start to become known makers like, Hepplewhite and all those dudes. You kind of looked at a style, and that's why we had like schools of furniture, like the Rhode Island school, so to speak.
Right.
Where you could see people were building in a specific style. Here's a German hymn. The Pennsylvania Dutch are basically of German origin. It kind of, sums up their belief. Humility is the most beautiful virtue, the glory and honor of all Christians, for it adorns our youth and old age even more so. What can you say?
I hope that sounds better in German. Doesn't sound like a very good song.
That was funny.
Songwriting, not the strong suit of the Amish.
I wonder how they felt about melody.
Yeah. Don't make it sound too good.
It might sound even worse.
No crops this year if that song sounds too good.
That's right. I mean, how do you think that compares to what we do nowadays? I mean, we sign our stuff. I mean, but for kind of a different reason. We're sort of, well, you go ahead and you could talk about why we put our stuff, names on our stuff.
It's more about like creating a legacy, and the sort of surprise it could be for a person in the future, to whatever, take these cabinets down or buy a piece of furniture and see, oh, Greene Street Joinery. I wonder who they were and when they were around.
Right. Because we're kind of like nerds in that way. If we peel off a piece of wallpaper and find out that the guy working on the house was named John Brown, 1850, we think that's kind of cool. So, we sort of do it that way in hopes that one day somebody will just be curious. And with the internet and everything the way it is, I guess this stuff is going to basically hang around forever, or at least as long as people are, running the internet. It'd be easy to just type in Greene Street Joinery and you'll find something about us.
Yeah. Unless they wipe us off the internet by then.
Get going on those conspiracy theories.
Never say never.
That's right. So what do? I found a couple of people. And even once I came across people's names, it was really a deep dive to get any info on these. One of the people I found was Henry Lapp. I have a sketch here. I'm going to open it up so I could take a look at it. It's really rudimentary.
Some drawings.
It looks like it's bright colors. It's a couple of pieces of furniture. You could see the dovetails and the joinery illustrated. But if your kid came home with this drawing from school, what grade would you say you'd be in?
5th.
Right. So this is Henry Lapp.
They're real perspective drawings, though.
Yes. So this came out of his handbook, and we'll get into that. So Henry Lapp, his craftsmanship is long celebrated in the community, but it's not until the 1970s that he's quote-unquote discovered.
By regular people.
Yeah. By the mainstream society. Yeah. So we're talking about what, 200 years? Yeah, almost. 1720s.
150 years.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 250 years?
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get into his early life, get some real dates on there when he was around. Henry Lapp, as a person, get into it a little bit. He was deaf and partially mute. So he started making these sketches so he could communicate to his clients.
Wow. The perfect Amish.
Right.
Can't be an individual if you can't talk or hear.
Oh, man. So in the 1950s, a descendant of Henry Lapp sold a bureau he'd made to a dealer, and inside one of the drawers was this little 4.5 inch by 8 inch soft cover book with Henry's stamp on the cover. And in 1958, that handbook was donated to the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Wow.
So it became quite an important piece in the Amish storyline.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah, Philadelphia Museum of Art. As an adult or
No,
when you were a kid in school?
It's like a field trip.
Yeah. We used to go to the Met and stuff like that. In 1975, a facsimile edition of his Handbook of Designs for Furniture and Household Items was published by the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and the work of a 19th century craftsman was found. So
he was in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's when Lapp was?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
he's
19th century craftsman. Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, you could see I had to stretch out the timeline.
Right. Not like a Chippendale where he was famous as a contemporary.
Right.
Somebody who wasn't known of until, 150 years later.
Exactly. So as we were able to see, his handbook is filled with drawings of chests, washstands, desks, boxes, even some games and toys. Basically, utilitarian items for the home and the farm. This is what the Amish built.
Yeah, I guess that one in the bottom left is a washstand.
Let's take a look. Oh, yeah. It says, I think that's what it says. Wash
bench.
Wash bench. Yeah. How you like the little wheels on that green cart?
Yeah, it looks something out of a mine. Yeah, it says bureau, wash bench, something for something box.
Right, yeah.
Zoom in even more. Almost looks like it says hose or rose.
Yeah, it might be something for gardening or
something for LEMO lemon box. Rose for lemon box. That makes sense.
Huh.
You guys have to check it out for yourselves.
Yeah, Henry Lapp, Lapp. And it'll definitely come up if you type in Henry Lapp's handbook, catalog, that sort of thing.
Well, you get a link to it if you're a patron.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's worth the money right there. So this guy comes up with a catalog. Which is pretty cool. All because, he had trouble communicating. And it's kind of unusual. You think about it, almost ahead of his time.
Yeah.
We did get into, the gentleman and I can't even remember the name of the book now.
It's right over there. The Cabinet Maker and Gentleman's Guide. Yeah. Something like that.
But that was more that was a book aimed at professionals.
Right.
This is aimed at the user, the end user. So this is, again, Henry thinking outside the box. As an Amish, we just went through what their belief system is. And Henry says there's no reason boxes used for gathering fruits and vegetables can't be yellow and green, or for that matter, purple and green. You want a seed cabinet? How about an orange and yellow combination? A red wagon? A green wagon?
Yeah, he's causing trouble.
So I say, given the aforementioned Amish humility and preference for blending in, might Henry Lapp's promotion of individuality make him somewhat of a rebel?
I was saying, yeah, if you weren't deaf and mute, we'd be
We'd
throwing you a beating.
Take you out to the woodshed?
Yeah.
It's curious to think how Henry was, thought of during his time.
Like, yeah, Henry's a little slow.
My answer is yes and no. The Amish did employ bright colors and were known for painted decorations, as well as their desire to not stand apart from the group. So they kind of, they had, we went over those hex signs. Those were colorful. And typically they're known for their painted work, their painted pieces. Mm-hmm. So although it was usually, like a monochromatic base color, they had some decorations. But Henry was just taking it a little bit further. I guess he was kind of an entrepreneur.
Sounds like it.
So let's look at Henry's early history. He's born in 1862. Yeah, so he's almost not a contemporary, but that's getting pretty close to current times.
Man, that's a hell of a time to be growing up. Right in the middle of the Civil War, in an area of the country that was being torn apart by the Civil War.
You're right.
I mean, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. How close is Gettysburg?
Exactly. And he's a fifth generation old order Amish, so he's a pacifist. It's an interesting line of thought, how that group tried to stay out of all the conflicts.
Oh yeah, I didn't even make that connection. Yeah, so maybe they were insulated from what was going
on. But you got to imagine troops are all over the place.
Yeah, taking up quarters in their homes, probably.
Yeah. So as we discussed, he was born deaf and at least partially mute. Based on the number of paintings and stuff that have surfaced over the last 30, 40 years, he seems to have been at it from an early age. He probably, used it as a form of communication from early on.
Yeah.
Not being able to speak well, not hearing.
Jeez.
You got to figure in those times in that community, he was might have been considered an aberration. Who knows what the belief system was that Henry couldn't hear. So he may have been somewhat ostracized.
Yeah. You'd think that the Amish maybe they seem like they'd be a little more tolerant of that kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Could go either way, right? We don't know for sure if Henry learned his trade from his father or was apprenticed to a carpenter or cabinet maker. But in 1890, in a local business directory, he's listed as a carpenter. 6 years later, cabinet maker. So let's see. So that's
28.
28 years old, which I guess is midlife at that point in time.
Yeah, maybe a little even more.
Yeah. Sometime before that, 1884, his father dies, his mom remarries, and Henry buys 10 acres of land from his stepbrother. Man, there's a lot going on. This is where he builds his house, his barn, and his cabinet shop. In an interview for an article in Folk Art magazine, a family member, this is what's cool about the Amish. I mean, you go out there and you're going to find relatives.
Yeah.
A family member said that if Henry was at a social gathering and happened to notice a rise in the wind, he'd leave and go out to his shop to cut lumber because it was powered by a windmill. So, I mean, I can think of somebody a little bit like that. any excuse to get away from a gathering.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the wind's going. I got to get back and cut some lumber, man. I got that power going from my windmill.
It's his passion.
But Henry's known to be friendly and outgoing, like to travel, visit relatives and Amish communities in Indiana, Ohio, and Canada.
Wow.
I didn't know there were Amish in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, well, where I go to fish in upstate New York, which is very, very close to Canada, there's a big Amish community up in Pulaski.
Yeah, we got to go out there. We got to take a trip one day.
Yeah.
Because it sounds really cool.
Be getting to be steelhead season pretty soon. Go out wade in that ice cold water.
That's the part I wouldn't really look forward to. But being out in that, I love being out in nature like that.
It's nice when it's cold because there's nobody there.
Yeah, that's true too. So Henry, despite everything that he's dealt, he's really an outgoing guy, and he takes trips out to Philly, which is that's English, as the Amish call it, the outsiders, to bring his pieces to market, picks up stuff to restock his hardware store, and he's picking up ideas when he goes out into the world.
That's the devil getting into him.
That's dangerous, isn't it? Henry's Handbook, there's a facsimile edition of Henry's Handbook, and it's noted that his washstand designs were more typical of large urban houses. So Henry's definitely taking ideas that he sees in the outside world and incorporating them into Amish furniture. And listen to this. She also noted the carrot-shaped foot and bulbous rounded foot on some of his pieces were variations of models made in mahogany and rosewood by Philadelphia cabinet makers. And Henry's flat areas of color were more typical of Welsh settlers rather than the painted figures of the old Germanic tradition.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like much to us, but...
Yeah, I mean, most of the other Pennsylvania Dutch stuff didn't have these type of turned, like, little bun feet or whatever you want to call them. They were integrated into the base of the cabinet.
Yeah, or they were just flat with a little bit of a cut scroll. It's hard to put things in context sometimes when you look at historical notes and figures. But if you put yourself back in Henry's time in a really insular community which prizes all that stuff and guards against outside influences, he is a bit of a firebrand.
Yeah.
It's cool that his work survived. In 1904, about 6 weeks before his 42nd birthday, Henry died of lead poisoning. From exposure to the paints he mixed. Again, here you go. These are things that...
Was he tasting it?
I mean, it's the exposure. And you've brought this up before, like Mad as a Hatter.
Yeah.
The people who worked on watches and things like that. We were all exposed to these things back then. So Henry never marries, and his estate is auctioned off, and it's, maybe in the 70s. So, but that bureau was sold in the 50s.
Right.
So, 50 years after his death, he's kind of creeping out into mainstream society's consciousness. The inventory of his shop includes chests, woodworking tools, circular saws, a mortise cutter, mortising jack. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
Molding machines, grinding stones. And he had an apprentice, Noah Zook, which he bought most of his shop and equipment and furniture patterns and opened his own shop a few miles down on the Philadelphia Pike. So there you have Henry Lapp, first significant guy.
Yeah.
The next group I found were the Biebers. No
relation to Justin Bieber.
No, but Justin Bieber's Canadian. I
Yeah.
guess
Could be a Canadian Amish.
he could be. He could be Amish. Now, there's a close up of a Bieber chest. Looks much more traditional Amish, right?
Yeah.
If you look at those designs.
Yeah, the hearts and the flowers.
But that second chest, the one in color, which is the really nice photograph.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty ornate piece of work.
Pretty similar design
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the painting.
Yeah, yeah. So what Jeff and I are looking at is basically a rectangular chest, 3 small drawers at the bottom ledge,
Mm-hmm.
some simple bracket feet, flat top. Looks like some breadboard ends there. Can you see one on the right, or is that just
Possibly.
paint?
No, it's a frame and panel top. It looks like.
Yeah,
You go real close.
yeah,
with
yeah.
flush panels.
And some really detailed paint. You could see some columns in the front.
Yeah, a little urn with some flowers coming out of it. Got the Queen Anne style backplate hardware.
Yeah,
Dovetails in the bracket feet.
some reds. Looks like either black or really, really dark green, right?
Yeah.
Does it say something there above the?
Yeah. It almost looks like. I mean, the third letter looks like a phi, like a Greek letter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
1789. It says there.
Wow.
Above that arch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's almost like a hybrid of like a Hope chest and like the Hartford chest, or the what was the other one? What were the ones they were making in Cambridge called? I forget.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I didn't even notice that 1789.
Me neither till I zoomed in.
I mean, it's obvious once you do notice it, but it's just so well done.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's
200 years before I was born.
So the Biebers, father and son, were skilled craftsmen and sawyers. Unfortunately, that's all I was able to find.
You know, those beavers keep their secrets.
I got a couple of notes. I didn't have any pictures from these folks, but there were a couple of carvers. One was Wilhelm Schimmel, and his story is very typical.
That's definitely not a German name. Wilhelm Schimmel.
Born in Germany in 1817. Again, we're talking about, early 19th century. Immigrated to Pennsylvania, ended up in the Cumberland Valley near Carlisle.
Oh, yeah, I know Carlisle.
You do? Yes.
Yeah.
Soon after the Civil War.
Just a town full of truck stops now.
This is the best note of the whole episode. And I'll quote directly. Schimmel was quite literally an alcoholic and from all accounts a very vicious one. In today's world, he would probably be in jail.
Wow.
Nonetheless, he had a genius for carving. So
I don't know how the Amish handle the alcoholism.
is it coincidence that the people that sort of made it into this segment have some sort of unusual characteristic?
Yeah. Could be.
The mainstream Amish, they're working within the fold.
Mm-hmm.
Schimmel, he was a genius carver, and maybe history remembers him because he was an alcoholic, and there were exploits, he was written about or remembered.
Something happened, he was a person of note because he was different than the rest of the Amishes.
So Schimmel would go from barn to barn in the Cumberland Valley for a week or two at a time, and in return for food and lodging, he'd carve little animals, birds, roosters, and on a very rare occasion, because it was frowned upon, he'd carve a human likeness. Most often it was birds. He'd take little chunks of pine from the wood pile, and with an ordinary knife, he'd carve them into shapes. He'd paint them with his own paints, and in exchange, he'd stay in the barn. So this guy...
He's a hobo.
He was an Amish hobo.
An alcoholic one. Well, goes along with being a hobo, I guess, a lot of times.
He did hundreds of pieces, most of them ending up in the fireplace after a few years.
Oh, jeez.
He dies in 1890. He's buried in a pauper's grave. Oh, man. And again, 1950s, 60s, his work, the surviving work, starts to get recognized as folk art. And even though it's late 19th century, curators and art historians determined that he was the true artist carver of Pennsylvania, whereas every carver who followed was doing it in a conscious attempt to be German.
The Germans are known for their, amongst others, but you think of like those Black Forest clocks and stuff.
Yeah. So get this. Once Wilhelm Schimmel's relevance is established, now we're talking 1950s and 60s, what was left of his work skyrockets in value. And 10 years ago, Bill Gates paid $50,000 for a Schimmel eagle.
Wow.
Today, it'd be around 100 to 150 grand.
I wonder how big they are.
Yeah, that's...
If they're made out of firewood, I guess it can't be that big.
That's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
If poor Wilhelm sleeping in the barn.
You reap the seed you sow.
So that kind of wraps up everybody I was able to find some notable information on.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wrap up this episode with a little bit of Amish cuisine.
We ate some Amish cuisine once.
Did you?
No, we did.
Oh, yeah. What did we have?
We went to Shady Maple Smorgasbord.
Right.
Yeah, that's when we picked up the Powermatic.
That's right. You ever hear of shoe fly pie?
Yeah, I ate it at Shady Maple Smorgasbord.
Now, it's related to Jenny Lind pie, which I never heard of, but probably originated among the Pennsylvania Dutch. It's a molasses crumb cake. And traditionally served not as dessert, but as a breakfast food with hot coffee.
Yeah, that's a good combo.
Yeah. The modern form of shoe fly pie as crumb cake served in pie crust was post-Civil War, when cast iron cookware and stoves made pie crust more accessible for home cooks. It's also known as molasses crumb pie.
I never saw it as like crumb cake inside of a pie.
Yeah.
Seems more like almost like pecan pie with no pecans.
Yeah, all the pictures I found, it made it look like, it had that sort of gelled filling, and it did have a crumb topping. Yeah, so to the unfamiliar, such as myself, the filling looks like the gooey part of a pecan pie without the nuts.
I'm getting ahead of the... This is how you know that I haven't read this.
That's right. This is off the cuff. The topping's a fine crumb, and shoe fly recipes that I checked out didn't use any eggs. Where do you think the name shoe fly comes from?
Well, it's because it's so sweet they had to shoo the flies away.
Yes, it was a brand of molasses, but that's probably why the molasses was called shoe fly. This was a surpriser. chicken and waffles. When you hear chicken and waffles, what do you think?
Yeah, I think of Harlem.
Yeah, exactly. Soul food, Southern. Chicken and waffles as a combined recipe first appeared in the United States colonial period in the 1600s in Pennsylvania Dutch country. Wow. So it's much, much older than I imagined.
Yeah.
And not in the same region, I imagined either, or in the same community.
Oh, in a slightly different style.
Yeah, exactly. The Pennsylvania Dutch, they put pulled chicken, stewed chicken on top with gravy. They probably had sort of like a not sweet waffle, I'm imagining, too, huh?
Yeah.
So it originates in Pennsylvania Dutch. Now, the version we're all familiar with using fried chicken is, definitely associated with soul food and the South. And the first version of that I could find appears at the Wells Supper Club in Harlem, right? What you're talking about, in 1938. And a last little bit of Amish cuisine. You tell me if you've ever heard of this.
I haven't.
Cup cheese.
Pizza in a cup.
Cup cheese is a soft, spreadable cheese rooted in Pennsylvania Dutch culinary history. Its heritage dates back to the immigration of the Mennonites and Amish to Pennsylvania in the late 17th century. So 1600s. Can you say this? It's a variation of a German cheese.
Kokasse?
And it's simply called cup cheese because they sold it in a cup. And it resembles brie. But
What's this brie?
what's this brie cheese? The flavor resembles brie, which sounds really good. Although, for whatever reason, they say it smells stronger than Limburger with the gluey consistency of molasses.
Here, I got the pronunciation right here.
Kochkäse. Kochkäse.
Kochkäse. Hopefully you guys can hear that. The mic is facing the, not facing the computer.
So
I like the sound of that.
yeah, I mean, if it tastes like brie, I'd be all for that. Spreading that on some bread,
Yeah. Or some crackers.
yeah. Back in the days.
Oh, man. Did you see the pictures of it?
No, what do you got?
Was this a YouTube video?
A YouTube video on cup cheese?
No, YouTube. Unique Susquehanna Valley Foods Cup Cheese.
They're still selling it, I imagine.
Yeah, oh, it is a video.
When I discovered fiber, actually, it was just...
I had to mute that 'cause we don't want to get any copyright infringement, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
yeah, they're still making it.
Wow, it is really creamy.
Yeah.
I mean,
It almost looks like creme anglaise or something.
yeah, you could describe it as thin, but if you're using it as a spread,
Look at that weak little bite that guy took. Get in there, you bitch. Let me just take a nibble off the corner. Shanks. Cup cheese. Yeah, I mean, they're dispensing it out of a...
right, like almost like a soft serve kind of thing, huh?
That looks good.
Yeah.
That seems to be the brand, Shanks.
Yeah, it's all over.
See if we can order some.
Wow. Yeah, you know what that would be good on, too, if it tastes like brie?
Anything.
Yeah, like you could pour it over like some vegetables or something like that.
Oh, that's a good way to ruin some cup cheese. Oh man, you get 12 of them for $60. Mail order.
Now
Sorry, $62.99.
Now we know what our Secret Santa's getting.
Yeah, sharp.
Cup
Perfect accompaniment to bologna or crackers. Resembles that of a medium French brie. Consistency is slightly runny and features a pale yellow color. Comes in a resealable container, 8-ounce container. Ships refrigerated.
Wow.
View all Shank's Foods cheese spreads. They got sharp, mild, and medium. All the same price.
It'd be nice to get like a combo pack.
I'd just get a case of each.
It'd be a nice dip, like chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, little cocktail wieners. Put it on a sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, like nice roast beef sandwich.
Smoked turkey.
Oh, yeah. Now that sounds good.
I might have to get some of this for Christmas. Put out 12 of these little cups on for the Christmas spread.
So if you had to pick between shoe fly pie, chicken and waffles, or cup cheese.
When I had the shoe fly pie, I spent my whole life hearing about shoe fly pie, and then when I finally had it, it was kind of like not as good as the hype. It didn't meet the hype.
Yeah.
Look, Shank's Foods opens up pretty soon, 9 a.m. 1980 New Danville Pike, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, right next to the Millersville Bible Church.
We're not that far away.
No, it's like 2 hours.
Yeah, we could drive to these places.
But yeah, the shoe fly pie, it didn't really live up to the hype. And their thing of chicken and waffles, I don't know how I feel about that with stewed chicken. I'm sure it's good, but I don't need a waffle if you're going to put gravy on top. It's going to ruin the whole what's good about the waffle, which is the crispiness. So I'm going to go with cup cheese, even though I've never had it.
I'm going to agree. I would definitely go for chicken and waffles in the soul food version because I'm a sucker for fried chicken.
Oh yeah,
and crispy waffles as well. When I was a kid, you ever have waffles and ice cream?
Think I may have.
That's kind of an Italian thing.
Yeah.
You get like a nice crispy waffle and a scoop of ice cream on
there. Is it
there.
a thin waffle?
Well,
not a Belgian waffle.
No,
just like a regular waffle.
Yeah.
I prefer those over Belgian waffles.
Yeah.
The ratio of soft to crunchy in the Belgian's all messed up. Like I want like a Waffle House kind of style waffle or like an Eggo, like a thin waffle.
Yeah, you got me wanting some waffles now.
Yeah.
I have a waffle iron, but it is a Belgian waffler. It's a single, but it's got deep crevices.
Yeah.
So
that helps.
It does come out pretty crispy.
The worst are like some places like in Disney World, I think they have the one that's got like the Mickey Mouse and then it's completely flat.
Yeah. No. Yeah, my waffle iron has really deep things. Like, so if you pour syrup in there, it's like
filled up.
20 little swimming pools of syrup.
Yeah. It's got to be real maple syrup too. None of that fake corn syrup shit.
Yeah, I feel like having some waffles now.
Yeah, we'll have to go back out to Shady Maple. If you guys aren't familiar, most of you probably aren't because you're not from around there or around, I guess if you're from around here, you don't know about it either, but Shady Maple Smorgasbord. Let's see if they have any little fact sheet on it. Shady Maple Smorgasbord. It's in East Earl, Pennsylvania. So when we went out to pick up the Powermatic planer, we were about 20 minutes away, so we went out there for lunch.
I still remember.
See, about us. Learn about Shady Maple. Shady Maple Farm Market. That's not, we want to know about the Shady Maple Smorgasbord is a unique dining experience that is built around creating great traditions with friends and family. For one price, we offer the largest selection of popular Pennsylvania Dutch cooking, as well as a vast amount more of other fabulous cuisines. We pride ourselves in being the largest buffet on this side of the United States, and we are eager to continue to grow. We serve nearly 1.5 million people every year and around 100,000 free birthday meals as well. We hope to see you here.
That description doesn't do the place justice.
Yeah, it's I want some stats. How many linear feet of
There's so much food there and so much food that you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like one of those things where it's 1,000 items and only like 7 that you'd eat, that you can't eat everything you want.
Yeah. Oh, look, they got a fun facts page. Years in business, 34 years. This is circa 2019. Smorgasbord, 110,000 square feet. That doesn't include the 44,000 square foot gift shop.
Oh yeah,
We spent about 45 minutes down there.
That plant we bought is thriving actually.
Yeah. Wait, the what?
Didn't we buy my wife a plant?
No, you got her that statue of the flower, the bird lady. Shady Maple employs, it says employees. Shady Maple employs more than 800 full-time and part-time people annually. The in-house bakery employs more than 100 people.
Yeah, there's tons of baked goods. I mean, I had some peach pie.
Main dining area can seat 1,200 people, while the banquet room can seat about 850. 3,000 eggs for omelets were served to customers on Saturday mornings. Each Saturday, 800 pounds of bacon are served. More than 300 pounds of Delmonico and New York strip on steak night. On prime rib night, we use 65 pieces of rib. Buffet lines, about 200 feet of food, 4 separate 6-foot wide grills. They're solar powered.
Wow.
2016, they started switching to LED lighting. Shady Maple Foundation supports more than 60 organizations annually. Food and financial donations are used to help these organizations and their causes. Look at this. Zook.
Oh.
Aaron and Abner Zook, local Amish twins, learned the art of woodworking as young children. How does this come around like this? As adults, they mastered the art and began creating incredible 3D sculptures and artwork. Marvin Weaver purchased and collected more than 25 pieces of these fascinating works of art. The Smorgasbord building is decorated with these pieces that range from an Amish barn raising to a one-room schoolhouse.
Noah Zook.
They gotta be related.
The apprentice of Henry Lapp.
You see, people?
Wow.
Aaron and Abner Zook.
Yeah. Type it in. See if see what we can get going.
Aaron and Abner Zook, Wikipedia. 1921 to 2003 and 10 were Amish identical twins and visual artists known for their 3D blah, blah, blah. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to Amos and Annie Zook. Brothers became well known for their artists, known as artists for their 3D paintings. Doesn't say.
Doesn't say if they're related to Noah.
No. But
I mean,
if you had ancestry, you could probably look it up.
Yeah, with the last name like Z-O-O-K, Zook.
And, you know, they're
Amish.
Yeah, so
in the trade.
They ain't spreading the genealogy around too liberally.
No, they're definitely related.
Well, let's see. Maybe I'll type that in, and then what was it? Noah Zook.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
That's crazy.
Not seeing anything, but WikiTree, descendants of Eli Zook. Okay, 1872.
Yeah, I see an Eli Zook there.
When was Noah Zook? Right here. January 1879.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, Noah was Henry's apprentice, and Henry dies 1904. He buys the shop. So you got to figure.
That makes sense. 1879. He'd be
Yep.
25. So this is saying that Noah Zook is the brother of Gideon Zook, who is the father of Amos Zook, who is the father of... Wait, no, this is Abner. I don't see an Aaron there. I don't know. I can't find definitive proof, but we're going to go ahead and say they're related.
They're definitely related. I'd bet on that.
Being that they're Amish.
And they got the same last name.
Yeah.
They're definitely related. I mean, there's not going to be two lines of Zooks that aren't related.
Probably not. Well, I don't think we could end on any higher of a note than that.
No, that was all right. We're going to head into the after show.
Yeah. If you're hearing this Friday morning, you may still have time to sign up for the Secret Santa. The signups end today. I don't know. It's all done automatically through this thing. So I don't know what time it's happening, but if you want to try and get in. If not, well, you're going to have to wait till next year. But yeah. Oh, Vesting Finishes. Check them out. rpmcoatingsolutions.com. Coupon code American Craftsman. Get yourself some nice finish. Help support the podcast. If you buy something, we'll get a little bit of a slice back, which is nice. But more importantly, it's a good finish. We like it. We just used over here we have some stuff for the church. We use their single coat finish, which you've seen the LED. This is just a regular hard wax oil, same kind of shit as a Rubio or a Odie's oil or a Osmo, a single coat hard wax oil, and yeah, that's all I got.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah, I like the LED and I like the single coat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Rubio-esque, single coat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call it. It tends to go on a little bit easier for my money, we'll call it.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit more. I don't have to work it in as hard, press as hard on it, which, saves the fingers.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
What were you doing? What were you finishing?
The ladder.
Oh, yeah.
The wine library ladder. And the shelves.
All that.
3 coats.
Get hand cramps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, this stuff goes on pretty easy.
Yeah. We should be getting some colors soon of the LED to try out.
I'm looking forward to that. I like to create a sample board of what we could do with those LED finishes. Yeah. I was really missing the LED finish this time around, I have to say.
Yeah.
Kind of having to set things to the side and
we're using this because we're matching up with old work. So
yeah.
Well, we'll leave you guys with that, and we will see you next week.
Take care, guys.